Hello, everybody. Welcome to the hangar deck. Hey, wanted to give you a little bit of news about my next project. Actually, this project kind of changed in the middle of the stream. I was going to build a Japanese Zero and do a semi-quasi diorama of the aircraft trailing smoke, being shot down, what have you. And just recently returned from a trip to Alaska and had a great family time there, and had lots of opportunity to see some really beautiful land. But one of the things that I did while I was there is I went to the Alaska Air Museum. And if you find yourself in Anchorage and you really want a treat, just go over to the Air Museum, and before you go in, just sit down. You'll see float plane after float plane take off. Lake Hood is the largest float plane airport in the world. They have a lot of de Havilland otters and beavers and Cessnas taking off with floats. Really cool, really cool. But the museum itself traces the history of aviation in Alaska, and it is rich. It is a rich tradition. And I've taken a lot of shots, uploaded a lot of them to Facebook. I may actually make a video of those stills. But now I digress. Wanted to tell you about the next project that I'm going to work on. I'm going to build this Mitsubishi A6M2. And the reason why I'm going to build this one, I've actually built this before. In 1942, the Japanese came up with a great plan. Would have been even better if it had worked for them. Glad it didn't. But they came up with this great plan of invading Midway. And part of that plan was an invasion of the Aleutians in Alaska. It became the Forgotten War. The Japanese left their troops there probably longer than they should have. And because it was, after all, the invasion was a feint. It was designed to draw U.S. forces north so that the real attack could take place at Midway, and they could take Midway. It did not work. The reason why it did not work was because the United States broke the Japanese naval code, so we knew they were coming. We read their mail, literally. But here's the important part about this build. There was an A6M2 that was attacking Dutch Harbor. It got around in the oil line. The pilot flew on for some number of miles, and the engine seized, and he was going to have to crash land. The Japanese had pre-scouted an area that they designated as an emergency landing strip. There was only one problem. It wasn't a grass area, it was a bog. So when the pilot set the plane down with its gear down, ostensibly to recover this airplane, it flipped over. It went over on its back, and the pilot's neck was broken, and he was killed. So his wingman flew around him until he decided that he was not going to survive, or had not survived, and then he flew on. Probably made a huge mistake, and that mistake was he did not destroy that airplane from the air. Maybe he was out of ammo. I mean, who knows? I'm sure he had his reasons, if he had, but for whatever reason, he didn't destroy the airplane. So that airplane was later discovered by the United States. It was picked up, it was taken apart, it was taken back to the lower 48, specifically to Naval Air Station North Island, where it was repaired, and it was made flyable again. And this was hugely important because it gave U.S. pilots a hands-on chance to fly the Zero and discover what made that airplane tick. What it could do, what it couldn't do, what its weaknesses were, what its strengths were. One of the things that was discovered, it had been suspected, but it was discovered fully, is the lack of armor and the lack of self-sealing fuel tanks. So if you light one of those babies up, it's going down. That's all there is to it. They found out that it was a better maneuverable aircraft at low speed than it was at high speed. So thus, the zoom and climb method of attacking became really prevalent. It had some issues climbing and turning one direction or the other. One direction it could turn better than it could the other. And so that was noted. So there were a lot of things that were learned about that aircraft. Now, it was interesting, of course, they did not fly that Japanese Zero in its original markings and paint job. That wouldn't be advisable over a U.S. base anywhere in the world. So that plane was repainted, and it was painted the standard navy blue at that time with the national emblem, which was a blue circle with a white star. I am going to take my A6M2. I'm going to paint one half of it the traditional Japanese colors. I'm going to paint the other half as it would have appeared when it was in U.S. custody. So it will be half navy blue, blue at the time. It wasn't actually a dark navy blue. And then half that light gray that the Japanese used early in the war. Should turn out really good. I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping it will look really cool when I get all done, and I think it will. And I'll keep you guys abreast of the situation. Maybe give you a little bit more history on that pilot as I learn it, because that's part of what I do when I build models. Is I learn about the aircraft and the pilots that flew them. I'm building my own private air museum. Of course, it's 1/48 scale, so I'll never get in any of them and fly away, even in a Indian in the cupboard situation. If you don't know that, you'll have to look it up. That's it from the hangar deck today. I'll have some more for you as time progresses. Thanks for listening. I'll load this up on YouTube, and please like and subscribe. I've got a few subscribers. I'd like to have more. Not really looking to make any money off of this, but what I am looking to do is to share the little knowledge that I have about model building and history and pass it on to you guys. I am convinced that if my hobby, which is model building, is to survive, it is my responsibility to teach others what I know. And I hope you do the same thing. So, as I've said before, YouTube is a smorgasbord of knowledge. So you take a small portion from what I teach, take a small portion from what somebody else teaches, put those together, and you've got a pretty nice plate. Okay, talk to you guys later. That's it from the hangar deck. Tom signing off.